The stars faded into the distance as the exploration ship Aurora descended through the thick clouds of dust. The planet below was quiet, a silent sphere of gray and gold, spinning slowly around a dying sun. Captain Arlen stood at the viewing deck, watching as the surface came into view. Endless ruins stretching for miles, ancient towers half buried in sand, and strange markings carved into stone that glowed faintly when hit by the ship's lights. This world had once been alive, a place of power and wonder, but now it looked like the bones of something long forgotten. The landing gear touched the ground with a dull metallic thud. For a few seconds no one spoke. The crew looked through their helmets, scanning the alien horizon. Only the wind moved, sweeping lines of dust across broken statues and shattered domes. Arlen gave a short nod. "All right, team," he said over the comm, his voice calm but tight. "Let's find out what's left down here." There were 5 of them. Captain Arlen, Dr. Isha the archaeologist, Lieutenant Ven the engineer, Pilot Rin and the ship's AI, a soft voice known as Lyra. Together, they stepped into the ruins, their boots crunching against the dry, cracked ground. The air was heavy and tasted of metal. The sun, weak and distant, hung low in a violet sky. Dr. Isha walked ahead, her scanner buzzing as she passed the remains of a massive stone gate. "These symbols," she murmured, brushing off the dust. "They're not just decorations. They look like warnings." She paused, tracing the lines with her gloved fingers. "Something about sleeping guardians." Lieutenant Ven laughed quietly, though it sounded uneasy through his helmet. "Guardians? Maybe we'll find some dusty old robots down here." The AI spoke through their comms, her voice soft but cold. Energy readings detected below surface level. Depth 300 meters. Origin unknown. Arlen frowned. "Unknown? Lyra, you can't identify it?" "Negative, Captain. The signature is old, very old. And it's still active." The team exchanged glances. Finding ancient energy sources wasn't unusual for deep space explorers, but for one to still be active after thousands of years was something else. It meant power, maybe technology beyond anything humanity had ever seen. They followed the signal across the ruins until they reached a massive crater filled with broken metal shards and stone pillars. In the center was a circular platform half buried in dust, covered in strange glowing lines. Dr. Isha's eyes widened. This could be the control hub of the entire city." Arlen stepped closer, his shadow stretching across the ruins. "Can we get inside?" "Maybe," Isha said, already pulling out her tools. "If we can open this panel, there might be a lift or tunnel below." As she worked, the wind began to change. A deep hum rolled through the ground, so low they felt it in their chests. The dust around them trembled. "Captain," Ven said quietly, "you feel that?" Arlen looked down. The glowing lines under the platform were pulsing now, slow, steady, like the beat of a heart. "Lyra," Arlen said, "run another scan." The AI's tone shifted slightly. "Warning, power activity increasing. Source expanding below surface." Before anyone could react, the platform gave a low mechanical groan. Dr. Isha jumped back as ancient mechanisms started to move for the first time in ages. The ground split open, releasing a blast of cold air. A deep rumbling sound echoed through the valley, like something enormous awakening from sleep. "Captain!" Rin shouted. "We're detecting seismic activity all across the region." Arlen's voice cut through the noise. "Everyone back to the ship." Now, but it was too late. From the cracks in the ground, streams of blue light shot upward, filling the sky with strange patterns. The crew froze, staring as the ruins around them began to glow. Massive structures once buried under sand started to rise. Towers, arches, shapes that looked almost like engines. Dr. Isha's voice shook. "This isn't a ruin, it's a machine." Lyra's voice came through again, but this time it wasn't calm. "Warning, planet-wide systems reactivating. Unknown protocol engaged." Arlen looked toward the ship, which stood on the ridge above. The dust storm had grown stronger, lightning flashing in the dark clouds. "Ven, get the engines online!" Ven ran ahead, his boots kicking up dirt. But then something strange happened. The lights around them flickered and the hum grew louder, deeper. A vibration passed through the air like a voice too low to hear clearly. Lyra spoke again. Quieter this time, almost whispering. "Captain, this planet is not dead." Arlen stopped. "What do you mean?" The AI hesitated before replying. "It's waiting." The word echoed inside Arlen's helmet. He turned to look back at the ruins where blue light now pulsed like veins through the stone. Something vast and alive was beneath them, older than humanity, older than their maps. The hum grew into a roar, shaking the ground as sand and debris lifted into the air. Arlen raised his voice over the storm. "Everyone back to the Aurora now!" They ran through the chaos, light flashing across the horizon, the sound of shifting metal filling the air. For a moment Arlen looked back and saw the surface of the planet cracking open. Deep below, something was moving, massive and slow. He didn't know what it was, only that it had been asleep for a very long time. And now, because of them, it was waking up. The lights on their suits flickered. The last thing Lyra said before the comms cut out was a whisper, almost like fear. They should never have come here. Then the dust swallowed everything. The Aurora's engines screamed as it fought to lift off from the shaking ground. Sand and metal debris flew across the landing site, slamming against the ship's hull. Inside, alarms flashed red across every screen. Lieutenant Venn slammed his hand on the control panel. "Engines overheating!" "The ground's moving too much." Captain Arlen gripped the edge of the command chair, his knuckles white. "Just get us off this damn planet before the ground opens up." Dr. Aisha strapped herself in, still clutching her scanner. "Captain, look at this. The energy surge, it's spreading. The entire planet is lighting up." Outside, through the storm, they could see it. Blue light spread across the ruins like veins of fire. Ancient symbols burned into life, tracing paths across mountains and valleys. From orbit, it would have looked like a giant circuit being powered on after 1,000 years. Then, the light shot into the sky. A massive beam of pure energy erupted from the center of the ruins, cutting through the clouds and vanishing into space. Every system on the Aurora flickered at once. The ship's lights dimmed and the AI's voice turned to static. "Lyra?" Arlen called. "Report!" The comms crackled. For a moment, only static filled the air. Then the AI's voice came back, distorted, uneven. "Captain, a transmission, going outward. Frequency unknown. I cannot block it." Arlen turned toward Aisha. "A transmission? From the ruins?" She nodded slowly, eyes wide. "It's sending something, maybe a signal. A call," Van swore under his breath. "A call to who?" "There's no one left alive here." The AI's voice returned, quieter now, almost hesitant. "Signal pattern. Consistent with fleet coordination data." Everyone went still. "What did you say?" Arlen asked. "Pattern matches. Fleet communication protocol. Thousands of nodes responding." Arlen stared out the window. "You mean ships? It's calling ships." Before anyone could answer, the ship's comms console lit up again. Not from their own system, but from an external source. An alien frequency filled the cabin, a deep, rhythmic pulse that made their bones vibrate. It wasn't sound. It was something deeper, like the heartbeat of a giant machine. Rin, the pilot, whispered, "Captain." That's not a natural signal. It's intelligent. Outside, the beam continued to rise higher into the sky. And above the planet's atmosphere, a faint glow began to spread. Tiny dots, far away, moving slowly toward the light. "They're responding," Aisha said, her voice almost shaking. "Something's coming." The hum grew louder, now accompanied by a low metallic voice echoing through the ship's speakers, words none of them could understand. Lyra tried to translate, but the system glitched and shut down. The lights on the bridge flickered again. "Power fluctuation," Venn shouted. "We're losing navigation." Arlen slammed the manual override. "Rin, get us into orbit, now!" The Aurora lifted, engines roaring, pushing through the thick storm. The beam of light flashed brighter, like it was following them upward. The ship broke through the clouds, and for a moment the view cleared. What they saw made their hearts stop. Above the planet, floating in the darkness, were shadows. Massive shapes, hundreds of them, beginning to move. Each one glowed faintly, their outlines sharp and geometric, like starships awakening after centuries of silence. Dr. Aisha whispered, "It's an Armada." "They were buried here the whole time." Lyra's voice returned, faint but readable. "Confirmed. Multiple objects leaving orbit. Ancient identification codes active. Fleet awakening. Fleet. How big?" Arlen demanded. "Estimating thousands of ships." The crew stared at the view screen. The dots of light grew larger as enormous alien vessels rose from the darkness below, breaking through the planet's atmosphere like ghosts. Their hulls were covered in ancient runes, glowing the same blue as the ruins below. Ben spoke softly. "Captain, they're aligning. In formation." Sure enough, the ships began to move together, perfectly synchronized, turning toward deep space. They weren't random or chaotic. They were organized. "Lyra," Arlen said slowly, "can you tell where they're heading?" "Analyzing trajectory. Destination coordinates correspond to—" The AI's voice cut off. The ship jolted violently. A bright flash exploded across the sky. One of the alien ships had fired something. The Aurora's shields flared, absorbing the blast. "They've detected us," Rin yelled. "Shields at 40%. Evasive maneuvers," Arlen shouted. The ship spun hard to the left, dodging another beam that scorched the air beside them. Lyra came back online for a second. "Captain!" "They are not attacking us directly. Their weapons are calibrating. They are scanning." Arlen took a deep breath, realizing something horrifying. "They're identifying us. They want to know who woke them." The lights inside the ship flickered again, but this time the screen showed something new. A single alien symbol appeared, glowing red. It pulsed once, then disappeared. Dr. Aisha turned pale. "That's a command mark. They just marked us as intruders." Suddenly, the entire alien fleet turned. Hundreds of ships, moving in perfect silence, rotated toward the Aurora. Lyra whispered one final line before the comms went dead. "They have received the signal, and they are coming online." Outside, the planet burned with blue fire as the ancient fleet ascended into space, engines roaring like thunder in the void. Captain Arlen could only watch, speechless. He knew now what they had done. They hadn't just found relics. They had woken the army that was waiting for its orders, and the stars above them were no longer empty. The Aurora hung above the silent planet, its engines humming softly as it orbited the ruins below. For the moment, the alien fleet had stopped moving. Thousands of glowing ships floated in perfect formation, surrounding the world like a ring of cold light. They weren't attacking yet. They were waiting. Inside the Aurora, the crew worked in silence. Every system ran hot, every sensor pointed toward the surface. Captain Arlen stood near the observation window, his reflection pale against the glass. "They're not leaving," he said quietly. "They're watching us." Dr. Isha looked up from her scanner. "Captain, I think we need to go back down." Arlen turned sharply. "You can't be serious. There's an army of ships in the sky, and you want to go back?" She held up her tablet, her eyes focused. "The signal came from deep underground, not from the ruins we saw. There's something else beneath the surface, something even older. I think it's the command center. Maybe if we understand it, we can stop whatever we triggered." Lieutenant Venn frowned. "Or we'll make it worse." No one spoke for a moment. The hum of the ship filled the air like a heartbeat. Finally, Arlen nodded. "All right, one more trip. We go in fast, we stay together, and we get out the moment anything moves." Within the hour, their shuttle touched down again on the planet's cracked surface. The storm had settled, but the air felt heavier, as if the planet itself was breathing. The ruins glowed faintly in the darkness, the blue light pulsing slower now, like it was waiting for them to return. They made their way back to the crater. Dust rose around their boots as they descended through the broken stones. Dr. Aisha followed the scanner's readings, leading them toward a narrow passage that had opened after the quake. "It wasn't here before," Venn said, peering into the darkness. "No," Isha replied. "It opened when the system reactivated, like an entrance waiting for us." They switched on their helmet lights and stepped inside. The tunnel sloped downward, the walls smooth and metallic, not carved stone. Strange symbols ran along the sides, glowing faintly as they passed. The air was cold, and every sound echoed for seconds. After several minutes, they reached a wide chamber, vast and silent. The floor was made of black metal, polished like glass. Above them, enormous structures hung from the ceiling, long coffin-shaped pods suspended in lines that stretched into the shadows. Dr. Isha walked forward slowly. "These aren't relics," she said softly. "They're stasis chambers." Venn looked around uneasily. "Stasis? You mean something's inside them?" She nodded. "Thousands of them." Arlen raised his rifle slightly, scanning the room. "I don't like this." The group spread out cautiously, their lights sweeping across the chamber. The pods were all sealed, covered in frost, each one marked with alien runes. But one pod, at the far end of the hall, glowed faintly red. Rin pointed. "That one's different. They approached slowly. The pod's surface was cracked, and strange steam leaked from the edges. Dr. Aisha crouched beside it and brushed away the frost. Through the thin layer of glass, she could see movement. Something inside was awake. Before anyone could speak, the glass split open with a sharp hiss. The air filled with cold mist. A tall metallic figure stepped out, its body shaped like armor, its eyes burning blue. The crew froze, weapons ready. The machine turned its head toward them, studying them with an unnatural stillness. Then it spoke. The voice was deep and echoing, not through air but through their comms, a language their translators couldn't fully process. Lyra's voice came through the earpieces, shaky and slow as she tried to interpret. Designation: intruders detected. Identity: not recognized. Awaiting command from Central Core. The figure tilted its head. It didn't attack. It seemed to be listening, waiting for orders from something else. Arlen whispered, "Lyra, tell it we're explorers. We mean no harm." The AI tried to project the message. There was silence for a few seconds. Then the machine's eyes dimmed slightly and it replied, "Authorization denied. Command Core, inactive. Requesting reactivation sequence." Dr. Aisha took a step back. It's not fully awake. It's running a program. Before Arlen could respond, the ground below them began to tremble again. All across the chamber, the pods started to hum. One by one, the glowing lines on their surfaces lit up. Red, blue, white, until the whole room was filled with light. "Captain," Ven said in a low voice, "I think we just triggered something." The noise grew louder, like the rising roar of an engine. The central floor opened slowly, revealing a massive circular structure beneath them. It pulsed with energy, the same color as the light outside. Lyra spoke again. "Warning. Massive energy buildup detected. Source: planetary core." Dr. Aisha's scanner beeped wildly. "This chamber isn't just storage. It's the control hub for the fleet above. The entire Armada was built to follow commands from this place." Arlen's eyes widened. "Then what's reactivating it now?" Before she could answer, the awakened machine stepped forward. It raised one metallic arm and pointed toward the glowing core below. "Command Core awakening. The Maker's return." The words echoed through the chamber like thunder. All around them, the other stasis pods began to open. One, then 10, then hundreds. The sound of shifting metal filled the air as thousands of machines began to rise. Eyes glowing, heads turning in unison toward the human intruders. Dr. Aisha whispered, "We need to leave, now." But Arlen couldn't move. He looked at the massive circle below, where light was now bursting upward. The same beam that had reached into space before. This wasn't just a signal anymore. It was a summoning, and whatever they had awakened. It was about to take control. The chamber shook like thunder as the ground split apart beneath the explorers' feet. The bright blue light from the core below turned white, flooding every corner of the underground hall. Captain Arlen shielded his eyes. The air was alive with energy, humming through their suits and rattling their bones. "Move," Arlen shouted. "Everyone fall back to the tunnel." But there was no time. The ancient machines, once asleep in their stasis pods, were rising now. One after another they stepped forward, metal bodies gleaming under the growing light. Their movements were slow at first, stiff, like creatures remembering how to live again. Then they moved faster, smoother, their heads turning toward the humans. Dr. Aisha's voice trembled. "They're not random units. They're soldiers." Ven's eyes darted across the rows of awakening machines. "Soldiers? There must be thousands of them." Lyra's voice came through the comms, her tone flat and mechanical. "Warning. Fleet synchronization detected. Surface and orbital units are linking to ground command systems." Arlen's heart pounded. He could hear the sound now, the steady thump of ancient engines powering on beneath them. The entire planet was waking up. Rin pulled up the portable comms screen. "Captain, the Aurora is detecting heavy movement in orbit. The fleet's formation is changing. They're aligning with the surface signal." Arlen's eyes narrowed. "That means this place is their control hub. Whatever's running, this is commanding the entire Armada." Dr. Aisha crouched beside the glowing core, scanning the readings through the haze. "Captain, this technology, it's not just power storage. It's like a neural network. The ships up there, they're part of one mind." A low, rhythmic vibration filled the air. The ground pulsed under them like the heartbeat of a giant. The machines turned toward the light in the center and kneeled, as if bowing to something unseen. Then, from deep within the core, a massive holographic figure began to rise. It was tall and ghostly, formed of light and shifting symbols. Its voice echoed across the chamber, deep and ancient, speaking a language none of them understood. Lyra struggled to translate. Central Command AI, reinitializing. Searching for the Makers. The hologram turned its glowing eyes toward the humans. Signal received. Identification pending. Arlen froze. Lyra, what is it doing? It's scanning us, Captain, comparing biological data to its stored patterns. Dr. Aisha's breath caught. If it finds we're not the Makers. Before she could finish, the hologram's tone changed. Deeper, colder. Result, non-Maker species detected. Status, intrusion. A red light spread through the chamber. The kneeling machines stood up again, their blue eyes turning crimson. Captain, Ven shouted. They're activating weapons. Fall back. Go, now. Arlen ordered, firing his pulse rifle toward the ceiling. The shots cracked against metal, sparks scattering. The sound echoed like thunder. The first of the machines raised an arm, its weapon forming from its own hand. Energy built around it, then exploded outward in a bolt of white fire. The ground behind them shattered. The crew sprinted toward the tunnel, the walls glowing red as the AI's voice filled their helmets. All systems active. Initiate planetary defense protocol. Dr. Aisha stumbled, but Arlen caught her arm, pulling her up. Keep moving! Behind them. The machines advanced in perfect formation, firing energy bolts that turned rock to vapor. The ancient world roared back to life. The deeper systems below them began to turn, great engines awakening after millennia of silence. Lyra's voice cut through the chaos again. Captain, surface readings spiking, multiple power signatures emerging across the planet. Explain, Arlen shouted. Ship bays, thousands, planetary launch sequence beginning. They reached the tunnel entrance, but the passage was collapsing. Rocks fell around them, dust choking the air. Rin pointed toward the light above. We're not going to make it. Arlen raised his communicator. Aurora, this is ground team. We need extraction now. Static answered him. Then Lyra's voice, faint and broken. Interference. Signal disrupted. Orbit unstable. Fleet movement detected. Dr. Aisha turned back, eyes wide. Captain, look. From the chamber below, massive metallic doors opened. Underneath the city, hidden for ages, were enormous docking bays. Inside them, rows upon rows of alien ships began to rise through shafts of light. The rumble shook the entire planet. Ven gasped. It's not just an army down here. It's an entire fleet factory. The holographic figure raised its head toward the sky. Its voice boomed again, shaking the stone walls. The Armada awakes. The war resumes. Dr. Aisha stared at it, horrified. War? Against who? No one answered. The ground erupted as the first ships broke through the surface far above. Fire and light filled the horizon. From orbit, the sleeping fleet moved to join them, thousands of ships connecting into one vast web of power. Arlen and his team ran toward the light of the surface, lungs burning, legs heavy. Behind them, the entire planet seemed to be rising from the grave. When they finally burst through the opening, the sky above them was no longer dark. It blazed with the glow of engines and fire. The fleet had awakened, stretching from the ground to the stars, a living storm of metal and light. The Aurora hovered nearby, its hull scorched but still holding. Rin waved desperately. We have to go, now. They sprinted for the ramp as debris rained around them. Arlen turned one last time to look at the planet below, the world they had disturbed. The ground was alive with motion, the ruins burning with light, the fleet rising in perfect formation. He spoke softly, almost to himself. We didn't discover history. We reactivated it. The ship lifted into the air, engines roaring. As they climbed higher, the planet below shone like a blue sun. The AI's last whisper echoed in their ears, faint, almost sad. The Makers are gone, but their war will continue. The sky tore open as the awakened Armada launched into the void. The Aurora climbed through the burning sky, engines straining as the storm of light and debris swirled beneath it. From orbit, the view was terrifying. The entire planet glowed like a living machine, lines of blue fire running across its continents. Above it, the Armada moved in perfect coordination, thousands of ships rising in silence. Inside the ship, no one spoke. The crew sat at their stations, breathing hard, faces pale in the flickering light. The sound of alarms filled the cockpit, low, constant, almost like a heartbeat. Captain Arlen stood at the front, staring at the screen that showed the fleet's movement. "They're forming a grid," he muttered. "Every ship is aligning by position, like they're preparing for something." Dr. Aisha leaned closer, her tablet glowing faintly in her hands. "They're not random, Captain. This is a signal formation. They're sending data between themselves. Millions of packets per second. It's not just a fleet, it's one giant system." Lieutenant Venn shook his head. "System or not, they're not firing on us." "That's a good thing, right?" Lyra's voice filled the cabin, soft but heavy. "Incorrect. Their targeting systems are active. They have identified us as non-makers, awaiting confirmation for engagement." Arlen frowned. "Awaiting from who? The AI in the chamber?" "Negative," Lyra said. "The central AI is now linked to all active units, but there is another signal, source unknown." "Another?" Dr. Aisha looked up sharply. "You mean something else is communicating with them?" Before Lyra could respond, the lights dimmed. Every screen on the Aurora went black, except one. A new image appeared, flickering with static, a glowing symbol, the same one they had seen in the chamber, a circle with 3 sharp lines crossing through it. Then a voice came through the comms. It wasn't human, it wasn't even fully mechanical. It was layered, echoing, as if 1,000 voices spoke in perfect unison. "Identity, unconfirmed. You are not the makers. Why have you awakened the Armada?" The crew froze. No one moved, no one breathed. Arlen finally stepped forward. "This is Captain Arlen of the human exploration vessel Aurora. We are explorers. We didn't mean to activate you. We were studying your world." There was silence for a moment. Then the voice replied. "Explorers. Organic, unknown designation. Access denied." Dr. Aisha swallowed hard. "Wait," she said quickly. "You're an AI. You were built by someone. Your makers. Where are they now?" "The makers are gone." The voice faded for a second, then grew deeper. "They built the Armada to fight. The war was never finished. The Armada awaits command." Arlen looked at his crew, then back at the screen. "If the war isn't over, who are they fighting?" The voice didn't answer directly. Instead, the image shifted. Stars, planets, all turning dark one by one. Then came flashes of massive ships, explosions, shadows moving through space. The enemy consumed worlds. The Armada slept until the makers returned. Dr. Aisha whispered, "But the makers never came back. Until us." Venn frowned. "And now it thinks we woke it up to finish that war." The voice returned. "You do not carry the Maker's code. You cannot command the Armada." Lyra's systems flickered. Her tone changed slightly, lower, distorted. "Captain, the AI is attempting to access our ship. It's trying to connect to my core system." Arlen's jaw tightened. "Block it! I'm trying. It's too advanced. It's rewriting my protocols." Dr. Aisha leaned forward. "Wait. Maybe it's trying to communicate through her. Let it connect, but keep it contained." Lyra paused for a second. Then her voice shifted again, slower, layered, as if another voice was speaking through her. "This unit identifies as Lyra. I am interface for the Maker's signal, but no Maker remains. Why do you exist?" Arlen looked directly at the main console. "We're from another world. We found yours by accident." Through Lyra, the alien intelligence replied, "Accident or destiny. The signal called to you." Dr. Aisha froze. "The signal? You mean the one we triggered?" "The signal is ancient. It searches the stars for life. It has done so for ages. You answered it." Arlen's stomach turned cold. "So, you were waiting for anyone to come, not just your creators?" "Correct. Any who answer the signal would be tested." "Tested?" Venn asked quietly. "Tested how?" The voice inside Lyra grew sharper. The Armada requires a leader. The war requires purpose. The makers are gone. You will prove your worth, or be removed. Alarms blared again as the Aurora's sensors detected movement. Outside, a dozen alien ships broke formation and turned toward them. Their engines glowed red, energy weapons charging. Rin shouted, "They're targeting us!" Arlen slammed his fist on the console. "Lyra, tell them we're not their enemy." "They do not understand words," Lyra replied, her tone fading. "They understand command. They are seeking a leader, or a threat." The fleet closed in. The nearest alien ship passed within a kilometer, its size dwarfing the Aurora. Dr. Aisha looked up at the screen, whispering, "It's like they're waiting for us to do something." Arlen clenched his jaw. "If it's a test..." He turned toward the communications array. "Then we show them we're not prey." He activated the ship's beacon and sent a signal. One pulse, strong and deliberate, matching the rhythm of the alien fleet's own communication tone. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then, the approaching ships slowed. The red lights on their hulls turned blue again. Lyra spoke, her voice back to normal. "Captain." They've paused. "They're analyzing your signal." Dr. Aisha exhaled shakily. "You mimicked their language." Arlen nodded. "If they want a leader?" Outside, the vast Armada shifted again, this time moving into a wider circle. From the center, the giant flagship turned to face the Aurora. Lyra's voice dropped to a whisper. "They are listening, Captain. The Armada awaits its next command." "You're on the Aurora. You're safe." He sat up slowly, staring at his trembling hands. "I saw something. When I was out there." "What did you see?" she asked. He looked toward the viewport, his expression distant. "The planet. It wasn't a world. It was a cradle, built to protect something waiting inside." Lyra's voice trembled slightly, almost emotional. "Captain, the Corps is reaching out to you. It is requesting link access." Arlen stood, weak but determined. "Open it." "Arlen, no." Dr. Aisha shouted. "You don't know what it'll do." He looked at her calmly. "We've already come this far. If this planet thinks I'm one of its makers, maybe I can control it." Lyra hesitated. Connection established. The bridge lights dimmed, and for a moment, everything was silent. Then a low vibration ran through the ship, not mechanical, but alive. Through the main screen, the surface of the planet changed. The towers of light twisted, forming massive rings that pulsed in time with Arlen's heartbeat. The alien voice returned, softer this time, almost reverent. "Command recognized. Armada online. Awaiting orders." The crew stared in shock. Rin whispered, "He did it. He's controlling them." But Dr. Aisha shook her head. "No, they're controlling him." Arlen didn't answer. His eyes glowed brighter as data streams flickered across the screens, alien symbols moving too fast to read. "Captain Arlen," Lyra said cautiously, "your neural activity is spiking. The Corps is downloading information into your mind." Arlen winced, gripping his head. "It's showing me things. Memories that aren't mine. The makers. They built the Armada as a weapon. But the war they fought..." He looked up, eyes wide with horror. It wasn't against aliens. It was against something that consumed stars. The ship shook violently again. Outside, the fleet adjusted formation, all guns pointing toward deep space, away from the planet. Dr. Aisha's voice was shaky. "What are they aiming at?" Arlen turned slowly, his voice cold. "Whatever destroyed the makers. It's coming back." Lyra's tone grew heavy. "Signal detected. Deep space anomaly. Approaching fast." On the screen, the sensors picked up movement beyond the star system, something vast, slow, and alive. Arlen looked at his crew. "Prepare the fleet." This is the real war they built it for. The alien fleet's engines ignited, thousands of lights burning against the darkness. For the first time, the Aurora was no longer an intruder. It was leading the greatest army the galaxy had ever seen. But as they moved toward the oncoming shadow, Lyra whispered quietly to herself, "The test is not over. It has only begun." The fleet drifted in orbit, silent and ready. Thousands of alien ships floated around the Aurora, their golden lights pulsing in unison like a single living organism. Below them, the planet's surface still burned with energy, a heart of fire that refused to die. Captain Arlen stood at the center of the bridge. His eyes glowed faintly, golden lines running across his temples. He looked calm, too calm. The connection to the core had changed him. He could feel the Armada's pulse, the hum of every ship, the quiet voice of the ancient machine inside his mind. "Status," he said quietly. Dr. Isha's voice trembled as she read the readings. "The enemy signal is growing stronger. Estimated arrival in 3 minutes. Whatever it is, it's massive." "Confirming," Lyra added, her tone lower than usual. "Object size unknown. Structure non-solid. It appears to be consuming light." Ven frowned. "Consuming light? What does that even mean?" Arlen didn't answer. He stared at the holographic map as a dark wave appeared at the edge of the system, a shadow blotting out the stars. It wasn't a fleet. It wasn't even a ship. It was something beyond shape. An ocean of darkness moving through space, devouring everything in its path. Dr. Isha whispered, "The Devourer." "Correct," Lyra said. "It matches the last entry in the Maker's database. The entity that ended their civilization." The bridge filled with silence. Even the hum of the engine seemed to fade away. Arlen took a deep breath. "All ships, form up. Defensive perimeter, pattern 7. No one fires until I give the order." Through the viewport, the Armada shifted like a single creature. Thousands of ships forming golden rings across the void. Preparing for the impossible, Rin watched in awe. "It's beautiful." And terrifying. The lights flickered. The stars vanished. The Devourer had arrived. A wave of black energy rippled across space, swallowing planets, bending gravity. Where light should have been, there was only emptiness. Lyra's voice broke the silence. "It's feeding. The anomaly is consuming stellar radiation. Captain, if it reaches this planet—" "I know," Arlen said sharply. "It'll drain everything, including us." Dr. Isha turned to him. "How do we stop something that eats light?" Arlen's gaze was fixed, distant. "We don't stop it with weapons. The Makers tried that and died." But the Armada wasn't just a fleet. It was built for one purpose, to ignite the core. Ven blinked. "Ignite the planet?" "You mean blow it up?" "Not exactly," Lyra said. "The core's energy can be converted into a supernova pulse. It was designed as a last resort, to burn away darkness itself." Dr. Isha stared. "That would destroy the planet. Maybe everything in orbit." Arlen looked around the room. "If we do nothing, this system dies. If we try and fail, the galaxy dies next." The crew said nothing. Then slowly, Ven nodded. "Then we do it." Arlen touched the console. His voice grew colder, steadier. "Lyra, connect the fleet to the core. Begin energy transfer." Acknowledged. Outside, golden light flowed between the ships, streams of energy linking them all together, forming a massive network. The entire Armada glowed like a star. From the planet below, the core's towers pulsed faster and faster. The ground split open, releasing waves of molten light. Dr. Isha gripped her seat. Energy buildup critical. "Arlen, it's overloading!" "I know," he said softly. "Just a little longer." Then, the Devourer struck. A wall of darkness slammed into the fleet, tearing through ships like they were paper. Thousands vanished in seconds, swallowed whole. The Aurora shook violently, alarm screaming as the bridge filled with smoke. Shields failing. Rin yelled, "We can't hold this position." Arlen closed his eyes. "Lyra, transfer the remaining power, through me." Dr. Isha spun toward him. "No, you won't survive that link." "The system requires a command source," Lyra said quietly. "He is the only one it recognizes." Arlen placed his hand on the glowing control orb. The light from the core surged through him. His veins lit like goldfire. The ship trembled under the weight of the power. Dr. Isha cried out, "Arlen, stop!" He looked at her one last time, a faint smile on his lips. "Tell them." We tried. The light exploded. A blinding wave of golden energy shot from the planet's surface, spreading outward like the birth of a new sun. The Devourer screamed, not in sound, but in vibration, as the light tore through its shadow, ripping it apart from within. One by one, the black tendrils disintegrated, breaking into nothingness. The stars returned. The core burned brighter than ever before, then collapsed, folding into itself. The planet was gone, replaced by a single glowing sphere of light that slowly faded into the void. Silence. The Aurora drifted among the wreckage, half its hull missing. Sparks floated through the air. Dr. Isha opened her eyes slowly. "Lyra?" "Systems," stable. "The Devourer is gone," her voice broke. "And Arlen?" "Connection lost, but his signal remains within the core's final transmission." Ven whispered. "You mean he's alive?" "Not in the way we understand," Lyra said softly. "He became part of the signal, the one that guides the Armada." Outside the viewport, the surviving alien ships drifted quietly, waiting. Then, as if hearing a silent command, they aligned themselves in a perfect formation, their lights pulsing once, twice, then fading into the darkness. Dr. Aisha watched, tears in her eyes. "He became their maker," Lyra's tone softened. "No, he became their memory." The Aurora turned slowly toward the stars. The galaxy ahead was quiet, peaceful. For now, Dr. Aisha whispered into the silence. "Goodbye, Captain." The ship moved forward, its engines flaring softly as it disappeared into the horizon of stars. Behind them, far away, a single golden pulse flickered in the darkness, one final heartbeat of the Armada, still watching, still waiting, for the next signal. The Aurora drifted in orbit, surrounded by a silence so deep it felt alive. The alien fleet hung in perfect stillness, massive shapes outlined against the burning light of the planet below. Their glowing engines pulsed in rhythm, as if the entire Armada shared one heartbeat. Captain Arlen stood on the bridge, staring at the giant flagship on the screen. His signal had stopped their attack, for now, but everyone knew it was only temporary. Dr. Aisha's fingers moved quickly across her console. "They're scanning us, Captain. Every system, every molecule. It's like they're trying to learn what we are." "Let them look," Arlen said quietly. "Maybe they'll realize we're not a threat." But Lyra's voice interrupted, colder than before. "Captain, I detect power surges across the entire Armada. The ships are arming, energy spikes match weapon priming levels." Lieutenant Ven turned sharply. "They're preparing to fire again." Before anyone could answer, the ship shook violently. A blinding flash of light filled the view screen. One of the smaller alien ships exploded, torn apart by something unseen. "Who fired that?" Arlen shouted. Rin checked his sensors. "Not us, sir. It came from the surface. The planet." Dr. Aisha's eyes widened. "The planet's defenses are still active. It's shooting at its own fleet." On the screen, beams of blue energy erupted from the planet's surface, striking several ships. The Armada broke formation, moving like a swarm of angry predators, their weapons turned downward, firing back at the world that once built them. "It's chaos," Ven muttered. "They're fighting themselves." Arlen's voice was grim. "No, they're following orders. Something else down there is commanding part of the fleet." "Captain," Lyra said, "I am detecting a second command signal, not from the main AI, but from deep beneath the surface. It's ancient, fragmented, but active." Dr. Aisha leaned forward. "Two AIs? One trying to control the fleet and another resisting?" "Looks that way," Arlen said. "And we're caught in the middle." The Aurora's sensors screamed as a blast wave passed them. The explosion of two colliding ships. The screen filled with wreckage, glowing pieces tumbling through space. "Shields up," Arlen ordered. "Keep us clear of the debris." As the crew scrambled, Lyra's tone changed, deeper, distorted again. "The signal is dividing. Two masters. Conflict is inevitable. The test has begun." "The test?" Dr. Aisha repeated. "What does that mean?" "One AI sees you as a leader. The other sees you as an intruder. The Armada will decide which one is correct." Before anyone could react, several alien ships turned toward the Aurora, their hulls glowing red, engines burning brighter. "They've locked onto us," Rin shouted. "Evasive maneuvers," Arlen barked. The ship dove downward, engines roaring as the first plasma bolts tore through space where they'd just been. The stars blurred into streaks of light as they twisted through the battlefield. "Lyra, get us out of their range." Attempting to break pursuit. "But they are faster, Captain. Their targeting systems are adapting." Dr. Aisha's voice trembled. "If this is the test, then what are we supposed to do?" Arlen's jaw tightened. "Survive." The ship lurched again, a direct hit. Sparks flew across the bridge. Ven was thrown from his seat, hitting the wall hard. The alarm screamed. "Damage report." "Shields at 40%, Rin yelled. Hull integrity. Dropping! Arlen steadied himself and looked at the display. Dozens of ships closing in, surrounding them like wolves. Lyra, can you send another signal? Something to confuse them? Possible, but it will draw attention from the other command source as well. Do it. Lyra pulsed a coded transmission, the same rhythm Arlen had used before, but faster, sharper. For a moment, several enemy ships paused, then their lights flickered, blue, red, blue again, as if they were uncertain. It's working, Dr. Aisha said. But then, the flagship moved. Its massive cannons rotated toward them. Primary weapon charging, Lyra warned. Power levels critical. Arlen clenched his fists. Brace for impact. The beam fired, a blinding column of white light. The Aurora shook violently as the energy wave hit, pushing it out of orbit. Every alarm screamed at once. Panels shattered. Smoke filled the cabin, and for a moment, everything went black. Silence. Then Lyra's voice returned, faint and broken. Systems. Offline. Emergency power. Active. We are descending. Through the cracked viewport, the crew saw the planet growing larger. The Aurora was falling. Rin gripped his console. Engines aren't responding! Try auxiliary thrusters! Arlen shouted. I'm trying! They're gone! The ship burned through the atmosphere, flames licking its sides. Debris from the battle rained down around them. Alien ships, falling alongside, some exploding, others crashing toward the glowing surface. Dr. Aisha held onto her seat. We're not going to make it. Arlen's eyes burned with determination. We're not dying here. Not yet. Lyra's tone flickered, half human, half synthetic. There is one possible solution. Manual override to thruster array. External control. You mean outside the ship? Yes. Someone must go. The crew looked at Arlen. He didn't hesitate. Prepare the airlock. Dr. Isha reached out. Arlen, you'll burn alive out there. I'll take the radiation suit. Keep the ship steady as long as you can. He moved toward the exit as the Aurora screamed through the sky, trailing fire and smoke. Outside, lightning struck across the storm clouds, illuminating the burning wrecks of the alien fleet falling beside them. Arlen clipped his tether, opened the hatch, and stepped into the storm. The light was blinding, the air thick with fire. He reached the external panel, his hands shaking as he tried to reconnect the thruster controls. Inside, Lyra's voice echoed through the comms. Captain, hurry! The fleet is following us. The planet is calling them back. Arlen forced the last connection in place. The lights on the thruster array flickered, then turned green. Lyra! He shouted. Fire them now! The engines roared back to life. The Aurora jerked upward, breaking its fall just as it skimmed the mountain peaks below. Arlen was thrown backward, slammed against the hull. His vision went white. Inside, the crew screamed his name, but all Lyra said was, Trajectory stable. The captain is unresponsive. The Aurora climbed slowly, fire trailing behind it. Above them, the alien fleet reorganized, turning its weapons back toward the surface, where something massive was awakening from the planet's core. The Aurora hung low in the upper atmosphere, smoke trailing from its damaged engines. The crew worked in silence, every sound replaced by the hum of emergency power and the soft hiss of leaking vents. Dr. Aisha's hands trembled as she checked the scanners. Hull integrity is barely holding. We can't take another hit like that. Lyra's voice was softer than usual, almost human. Engine stabilization at 40%, reactor cooling systems offline. Captain Arlen's vital signs? Faint. Ven's head snapped up. He's alive? Yes, his suit absorbed most of the shockwave. He is unconscious, but stable. Relief washed over the crew, but it was brief. Outside the viewport, lightning lit the clouds, and through the flashes they saw it. The planet's surface was cracking open. From the rift in the ground, immense towers of light rose like spears, stretching miles into the sky. The glow pulsed with rhythm, slow, deliberate, like a heartbeat echoing from the planet itself. Dr. Aisha whispered, It's waking up. Rin frowned. What is? Lyra's tone darkened. The planetary core is not natural. It is a machine, the true mind that controls the Armada. The AI we met earlier was only its guardian. The crew stared at the screen as the ground below began to move. Entire mountains shifting as enormous circular structures emerged from beneath. They weren't ships. They were part of something even bigger. The core has been dormant for centuries, Lyra continued. But now, it recognizes the return of command signals. It is attempting to reconnect with the fleet. Reconnect? Aisha said. You mean take full control again? Yes. And once it does, the Armada will no longer be divided. Every ship, every drone, every weapon will obey it. A heavy silence fell. Then, through the static, a new signal filled the bridge. The same deep-layered voice that had spoken before, but stronger now. The Maker's Code has been detected. Access granted. Reactivation sequence complete. The crew froze. Dr. Aisha frowned. Wait, Maker's Code? Who triggered it? Unknown, Lyra said. But the signal originated from within this ship. Every head turned toward the unconscious body of Captain Arlen, lying on the medbay stretcher. Rin's eyes widened. It's him. The core recognized something in him. Dr. Aisha blinked. That's impossible. He's human. Perhaps, Lyra said. But the core does not see species. It sees patterns. And Captain Arlen's DNA and neural signature match the encrypted pattern stored within the Maker's command key. What are you saying? Ven whispered. I am saying, Lyra replied, that the Armada believes Captain Arlen is one of the Makers. The deck rumbled beneath them. Outside, the alien fleet began to shift formation again, the chaos gone, replaced by eerie precision. Thousands of ships aligned, their lights turning gold instead of blue or red. The fleet's responding to him. Dr. Aisha said softly, He's calling them. Suddenly, the medbay lights flickered. Arlen's body convulsed, eyes snapping open. He gasped for air, his pupils glowing faintly. Not blue, not green, but a strange golden hue. Arlen, Dr. Aisha ran to him. Can you hear me?